Hi everybody, my name's Mickey Bush and I'm a... Mickey. I always say the last name, sorry about that. But my name's Mickey B. And I'm a fully conceited addict. And that's fully conceited, not conceited, though some of you may think differently as we go along. You know, I'm really delighted to be here, absolutely thrilled. In fact, I'm having a gratitude attack as we speak, you know. I just have these gratitude attacks all the time these days. Anybody know what I mean by gratitude attack? You know, I didn't know nothing about gratitude when I got here, you know, and today I do. I just thrilled to bits to be here. You know, I'm coming up on 32 years clean, and I've got to tell you, it's more thrilling and it's more exhilarating to be among you today than it's ever been. You know, I'm more active than I've ever been, and I'm more thrilled to be an active member of Narcotics Anonymous, you know, in recovery. And you know what? If you were to say there's £1,000, tell me the last 2 days in a row that you didn't go to a meeting, I wouldn't be able to take your money. I have no idea when the last 2 days in a row was that I didn't go to a meeting. I go to lots and lots and lots and lots of meetings. I have an odd, vague recollection of an odd day here and there that I may not have gone to a meeting, but I certainly don't have 2 days in a row. So I say that to encourage folks to go to meetings, and meetings is where the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous come together. And there's two Narcotics Anonymouses. There's the fellowship Narcotics Anonymous in the meetings, which will help you stay clean, of course. And there's the program Narcotics Anonymous, which is in the basic text. The program will give you recovery. The meetings will help you stay clean. And we have a recovery program here. Recovery. So I want to make that distinction, because a lot of people seem to think that they're going to put their butt in a seat and it's going to come up through the hole in their arse through osmosis, you know, and it don't come up through osmosis, you know, I mean, you know, so, you know, and of course I go to many meetings, and often when they say, are there any NA announcements, I go, oh Mick, we know there's a basic text. And I go, well, how come I've sat for a whole meeting of Narcotics Anonymous and not one person's mentioned it, never mind quoted from it? You know, so we have the basic text, folks. It's absolutely imperative. It's got the program in it. So, yes, the meetings are very valuable, very important, precious. You know, we've got them programmed. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the foundation that we form in order to build a recovery program on top of it. Now, if we don't, you know, build a solid foundation, and to me that's in the first 3 steps, you know, whatever we build on a shaky foundation, what happens to it? Come on, respond, it's a workshop. See, we all know, don't we? We know what happens to anything you build on a shaky foundation. So I want my foundation in recovery to be absolutely rock solid. And for that I need to learn. And, you know, that's why I identify as a fully conceited addict. ADDICT, anybody doing drugs in compulsive trouble. And addiction, ADDICTION, anybody doing drugs in compulsive trouble is our newcomer. And of course we welcome our newcomers, don't we? And we speak to them, and we encourage them to become, you know, a sticker and a stayer. We say things like keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. We want people to keep coming back, but we want them to keep coming back to learn how to become a sticker and a stayer. Because lots of people, they literally take that as keep coming back, and they fall into that trap, you know, of like clean, relapse, comeback. Clean, relapse, comeback. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. See, and so we want you to get out of that pattern and to keep coming back, to become a sticker and a stayer, you know. And it's very important, because over the long haul, you know, it works if you stick around. You know. I talk in terms of the step before the steps. The step before the step is what I call fully conceding to my innermost self. Now, I didn't know what that means. We haven't got the steps up here, but in the very first step, it says we admitted we were powerless over our addiction. We admitted we were powerless, it's past tense, over our addiction, that our life had become unmanageable. So it's in the past tense. We admitted we were powerless and our life had become unmanageable. Not that I am powerless and it is unmanageable. But if you want to have a bit of fun with your sponsor and perhaps yourself and your sponsees, look at that first step. Because it says, we admitted that we were powerless. We've never done that, folks. We have never admitted that we are powerless, because we ain't powerless. We are a power so strong we can resist the urge to use. You were powerless, I was powerless, but we ain't powerless. Me plus you is a power greater than me. You plus us is a power greater than you. Together we can do what I couldn't do alone. I couldn't stay clean, you couldn't stay clean, but together we can stay clean. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, no shit. Yeah. I was powerless and you were powerless, but we ain't powerless. But we say that, don't we, when we walk around. I hear people in here tonight going, powerless, 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 poor little powerless. You know, powerless over everything, powerless over people, places and things. In one of my houses in San Fernando Valley, you know, I live in Los Angeles, and you know, I got two parrots in one of my houses, a blue one and a green one. Bill and Bob is their name, after the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've trained them to speak. And you can stand very close to them and they'll screech out at you, I'm an addict, I'm an addict! Powerless, powerless! You know, they're parrots is what they is. But they can say they're addicts and powerless. And I didn't want to be a parrot walking around here, flapping my lips, talking jive that I didn't understand, but repeating because I heard somebody else say it, but didn't have a clue what it was. So I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn what it was and what it was about me, because I didn't know, folks. I didn't know. When I got to recovery, I had no idea what was wrong with me and what to do about it. You know, I came the graduated path in recovery, the same as I went the graduated path, you know, in my addiction. You know, I went the various stages from the various drugs that I used, and eventually ended up right in the shit. But and I did the same in recovery. I came through, you know, I was one of the founder members of Codependence Anonymous and Al-Anon for AA, and adult children of alcoholics, and I went through those periods and went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was blessed and grateful to be there at the beginning of Cocaine Anonymous. And 4 months after I get to Alcoholics Anonymous and quit drinking, I'm crazy as a loon, because I'm still dabbling in other areas that they hadn't mentioned, that I hadn't heard that I shouldn't be doing. Because you know, I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, alcoholics Anonymous, don't drink, didn't drink, so it didn't worry me. I mean, because I smoke pot, you know, I like pot. Anybody here like pot? Anybody like a lot? I ain't got a problem with pot, for Christ's sake. You know, pot only does two things to me. It makes me horny, it makes me hungry. Nothing wrong with that. Except some mornings you wake up with a sore arm and a bed full of pizza crust. No big deal. So I'm dabbling in that. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, not drinking. You know? I'm doing cocaine, I'm dabbling in there, I'm dabbling in speed, I'm dabbling in little things. Because I'm going to like recovery meetings, I'm not like out there on a limb like I was, but you know, and I end up 4 months later absolutely, totally insane, you know, without what the book says a sufficient substitute, you know, and I'm dabbling in these other areas and I haven't fully conceded. You know? So I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to do it. I didn't work it out for myself. I couldn't work it out for myself. I had to learn from the folks that went before me. Learn to fully concede to my innermost self. You know, what was that? I mean, what was it about me that made me an addict? I knew what I did because I was an addict. I knew the consequences and the results of being an addict, and I knew what was happening as a result of my using and stuff, but I didn't know how to connect what it was about me that made me what I was saying I was, an addict. Now, I know that we say that an addict is someone whose life is controlled by drugs, but that didn't jive with me. And maybe it doesn't with you. See, my son's life is controlled by drugs. He's not an addict. He's a diabetic. And if he doesn't take his meds, he's screwed. So his life is completely run by drugs, but he's not an addict. And so those kind of questions and stuff screwed with me, and I needed to know what it was about me. And I didn't know. I didn't know, for example, about drinking. I had no idea about drinking. You know, everybody I knew drank. You know, I had no idea that, you know, alcoholism and addiction and all those kind of things. I didn't know. I had to learn this stuff. And everything I know today and everything I'm talking about now is all learned in retrospect. I never brought any of this in here with me. I had no idea. I was so sick when I got here that I didn't know I was sick. Do you know how sick that is? Do you know how sick it is? To be so sick that you don't know you're sick. That's really sick. And if you're as sick as I was when I got here, I come into a meeting like this, meeting full of addicts, good addicts seems to be, and I scan the room and I think, I ain't as sick as him. Do you know how sick that is? Do you know how sick it is to be in a room full of addicts thinking you ain't as sick as the next guy? That's really sick. So if you're in here tonight worrying about whether you is or whether you isn't a real addict or not, I want you to know that I can relate to being as sick as you don't think you are. Really sick, and I never knew. Of course I do today. I wrote a word, sick, S-I-C-K. Spiritually ill can kill. And that's what I was. I was dying of a disease I didn't even know I had. And I had to know that there was a disease of addiction as opposed to just being addicted to something. Because I had examples of people that were addicted to stuff but didn't have the disease of addiction. They didn't have the real deal. You know, living in America, as I do, I've been there 37 years, and, you know, some of those service personnel and other people, you know, they came back from Vietnam and other places, and they were strung out and addicted to all kinds of various things. But they never had the disease of addiction. They went through detox, cleaned up, went back to the farm in Iowa or Kansas or wherever it was they came from. Okay. You know, those folks who put Woodstock together and all that. You know, they're CEOs of companies now. They did as much acid and everything else as I did. But they weren't the real deal. You know, they even got addicted. Not me. I'm a real addict. I know that. I fully conceded to my innermost self about that. And I wanted to know what it was. What was it about me that made me an addict? What was it that differentiated me from my three sisters and brother, for example? My three sisters and brother, they ain't addicts. You know, I am. They ain't. They don't even know why I use. I don't know why they don't. I ask them, why don't you use? They say, I don't like it. I say, what? What don't you like about it? They say, well, if I do too much, I feel sick. I say, sick? You've got to use past that. Stop at sick. I don't stop at sick. I'm pure, but I don't stop using it. That's what I say. You know? So I don't know about this stuff. And you know, I learned from a guy who got up in my face and told me the truth. Got right close like that. And he told me that what it was about me wasn't what I did because I was. You know, what made me an addict wasn't what I did because I was an addict. You know, such as the behaviour, and such as the out of control, and such as all the one's too many, 1,000 ain't enough, and once I start I can't stop, and I can't stop from starting, and possession of the mind, allergy of the body, can't control my use. All that's true if you're a real addict, but it's not, that's not the essence of what makes us an addict. What makes us an addict and separates us from the non-addict is something very special. We have an abnormal reaction on why we do this thing, and why I was doing it was to change my perception of reality. That's what drugs does for the addict that it don't do for the normal person. And that's why there's a total difference between clean and recovery. The same as there's a total difference between, you know, drugs, what they do for me, and addiction of what it is that I've got. Drugs change how I feel. Addiction changes my perception of reality. And I didn't realise that, but a guy got up in my face and I said, and he said, "You're a real addict." And I said, "Why did you say that?" He said, "Because if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and sounds like a duck and smells like a duck, it's a bloody duck. Just because he's been taking some shit and thinks he's an eagle, no, you're a duck. You're a duck, I'm a duck. Quack, quack," he went. I went, holy shit. This is the bloody funny farm, man. You know, guys hugging and loving on you and shit, and ducks and eagles. And, oh, wow, what is this, you know? But what he was doing was breaking through that barrier of denial that I had up against the world and everything else. You know, this is a disease of denial, some of you know that. I wrote the word denial, D-E-N-I-A-L. Don't even notice I am using, don't even notice I am lying. You know, that's what denial is. I don't notice when I'm spewing out crap, I don't notice it. And I don't notice when I'm being lied to either. Especially by a disease that tells me I ain't got it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Who relates to the voices that talk to you? Who relates to the voices that talk to you? Anybody relate? Who relates to the voices? Yeah. No shit. You know the voices I'm talking about. Them voices that just said, what voices? Them voices. You know them voices? Drive you crazy, them voices. Drive you crazy. Piece of shit, you're going to get loaded today. Your girlfriend's cheating on you, your best friend's getting some. Drive you crazy. So, you know, those. But when we fully concede, it takes on a different meaning to admittance, acceptance and surrender. Now, I know we talk about admittance, acceptance and surrender, but it ain't enough. Admittance, acceptance and surrender ain't enough. It sounds enough, but it's not enough. Admittance, acceptance and surrender is a prelude to fully conceding. And not only that, but we had to learn to fully concede. It's a must. We had to do it. Admittance, acceptance and surrender is a choice that we can make. It's a preference, if you like. But when we had to fully concede, that's what we have to do to start our recovery. And so there was a difference there. And admittance, acceptance and surrender wasn't enough. You know? And you know, I liken it to the world wars, the First World War and the Second World War. Because in the First World War, you know, that German army were defeated, they admitted that defeat, they accepted that defeat and they surrendered. Well, I was born in the Second World War. And that Second World War, Hitler, little shitpot Hitler, was going to take over the world, 1,000 years of Third Reich, you know, and he was going to take over the world, and he did a very silly thing like Kaiser Wilhelm did in the First World War. You know, Kaiser Wilhelm was going to take over the world, and he upset them bad boys from the US of A and other places, and they came over and kicked his ass, and that German army was defeated. They admitted that defeat, they accepted that defeat, and they surrendered. Now Hitler, he did the same thing. Hitler came along, and he goes storming into Poland and other places, going to take over the world. Those same guys who had admitted, accepted and surrendered hadn't fully conceded. So when Hitler comes along, they don't say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Them bad boys from America will come over and kick our ass like they did in the First World War. Don't do that. They said, oh, this time it'll be different. What did you do? Well, we all know what happened when we did that. And see, that's the difference between admittance, acceptance and surrender and fully conceding. I can admit something today and deny it tomorrow. I can accept it today and refute it tomorrow. I can surrender today and give me an Uzi and a box of ammo and come and get some of this, big fella. But when I fully conceded, it's a done deal. All the way to the stone, as my friends in Pink Floyd wrote about. You know, and that space 2 inches behind my belly button where me and Gus get together. Gus, G-U-S, the guy upstairs. You know, I got a guy upstairs and he's with me constantly. He's with me right now. I just went out, there's my higher power, and I went out there before I started speaking here, and I was speaking to my heavenly higher power and holding my earthly higher power, you know, and oh, you know what I mean by that, okay. You know, I said, put the words in my mouth that you want me to say, Gus, and he said, yes, Mick, go ahead, do what you're going to do. He said, I love you, you're my favourite. That's why I made you. That's why I made you so good looking, he says. But I didn't come in here with that, and I was talking to a couple of the chaps at the beginning of the meeting about the, you know, the concept of God that I have that I never brought in here with me. But when I fully conceded, it was a done deal, and I wasn't conscious and aware of it at the time. But I became conscious and aware of it at the same time, because, you know, when we fully concede, two things happen that don't happen when we admit, accept and surrender. You know, and on January the 15th, 1983, a couple of things happened that hadn't happened to my conscious knowledge prior to that. And one was drugs stopped working. Drugs, D-R-U-G-S, devil's revenge upon God's subjects. You know, drugs stopped working. Now, I don't know whether you understand what drugs stopping working really means. I didn't. Drugs stopping working wasn't the physical effect that the drugs had on me. What drugs stopping working was that it stopped changing my perception of reality. It stopped being the buffer between me and you and this rotten world doing rotten shit with you rotten people that I couldn't stand. And I needed a buffer between me and you and this rotten world doing rotten shit. And I don't know what you brought to recovery, but what I brought was a lot of hurt and hate. Hurt and hate. That's what I brought to recovery. Hurt and hate. I hurt and I hate everything. Couldn't stand nothing. I hated women. I couldn't stand women. I hated homos and queers and anybody different. I hated black people. I was totally racist and prejudiced. I was from London, England, living in Los Angeles, and I hated foreigners. I couldn't stand me. I hated you, and get away from me, and don't come near me. And with all that torment and turmoil going on inside, I still had to try and present to you a picture of somebody you would like. Because when your higher power's what people think of you, if you don't like me, I'm screwed. Now, when I'm using, I don't give a shit about that. But all of a sudden, January the 15th, ain't working no more. It's still getting me screwed up. It's still rotting my insides. It's still getting me locked up. But it ain't changing my perception of reality, and I can't stop from doing it. I can't stop doing it because I'm addicted to doing it, and I can't just say no. You know, I don't even know where that shit comes from. You know? I mean, just say no to a full-blown dope fiend like me. I will use no matter what. No, I won't. You never hear me say to one of you, go out there, don't use no matter what. Just go to meetings and don't use no matter what. Because if I could do that, I wouldn't need to come here. You know, but we tell a new guy that, don't we? Don't use no matter what and go to meetings, and he can't do that. And he goes out there, and we're in here telling him to go out there and do something he can't do. You know, if I say come in here and come and join us and come and sit with us and come and we'll teach you what we're doing and how to do it, and here's what we do, and come and join us, you know, don't leave. You know, now he's got half a chance. Anyway, that's a little tangent that I went off on there, but, I didn't know. I had no idea that, you know, that's what was going on. And all drugs, when we were putting the basic text together back there in 82, 83, I voted against two things that we read out here tonight. And I voted against mentioning that the newcomer was the most important person in the room. I voted against that because in my experience and in Narcotics Anonymous, nobody's more important than anybody else. And in my way of thinking, if the newcomer's the most important person, I'm a pubic hair away from making her the most important. And if I can make her the most important, the next thing is I can make me the most important. Now I'm in a mess of trouble. And nobody's more important than anybody else. The newcomer may be the lifeblood of the fellowship, but we're the veins that the blood runs through, you know. So I vote against that. Take no notice of my vote. The other thing was mentioning alcohol, you know, as being different. Well, the mere fact that we mention it makes it different. And I didn't like that, you know, so that didn't jive with me. But, you know, we were doing this at that time, and eventually it seems to work pretty good, and I ain't really got any big deal about that. But I didn't know nothing about it when I got here. And when I fully conceded, you know, first and foremost, I hear folks say, I'm never going to use again, I know what would happen if I did. Well, guess what? What we know changes. I'm never going to use again, I remember what happened last time. Well, guess what? Our memory fades. If I'm relying on what I know and my memory, and it fades or changes, I'm screwed. But when I fully concede, it's a done deal. No argument, no debate, no discussion, no wonder can I have a cold one on a hot day, can I just chip a little bit, or will a little 20 just ease the pain? No, it's a done deal. No going back, no guesswork, you know, that I can fully concede. And the other thing was, on January 15th, 1983, I hit bottom. Now, I didn't know what hitting bottom was, and I wasn't consciously aware of it at the time. I needed to stick around and come and learn, especially on the first step, about that, so that I could understand hitting bottom. But I know that in our meetings we say things like everybody's bottom's different. Give me my cup over, please. Better not be different. You know, there's no unity in being different. But hitting bottom is the same for all of us, not different. You know, and hitting bottom, you know, was something that happened on January the 15th that I never knew about at the time. You know, I learned about it, but I wasn't conscious of it at the time. Hitting bottom, you know, on January 15th, 1983, hitting bottom's an inside job, not an outside circumstance. And I didn't understand what you guys meant by hitting, well, you call it rock bottom over here, but hitting bottom. You know, I didn't know what that meant, really. And I asked people, what do you mean, hitting bottom? You know what I was told? I was told what the circumstances and the consequences of their using was, and what the fallibility of their life at the tail end of their using was. You know, that's not what hitting bottom is, friends. You know, the outside circumstances and conditions of our life is not what hitting bottom is. We think it is, we say it is. You know, detox, disease, abandoned car, no money, no family, kids gone, you know, everything else like that. That's not what hitting bottom is. We think it is and we say that stuff. But hitting bottom's an inside job, not an outside circumstance. And the danger of believing that hitting bottom is an outside circumstance is that as those outside circumstances get better and improve, we falsely believe we've gotten better and improved and use again. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. See? And the little disease says you wasn't that bad, you're not as bad as him, you're different, etc., etc. But hitting bottom isn't about the outside circumstances, and you'd be amazed, because I went out and asked people, what does it mean? And you'd be amazed at what I got told. You know, I mean, it's really crazy what some of the things I've got told. One little couple that I like, I'm very fond of them as a matter of fact, you know, they love being clean, they work hard at their recovery, and the little chickadee, I said, like, you know, we have to hit bottom first, you know, have you hit bottom? She said, yes, Mick, I've hit bottom. I said, I'm curious, tell me about it. She said, it's easy, Mick, I was feet to the curb, hustling the Broadway, prostituting myself, trying to earn $1 so I could get loaded. I said, that wasn't your bottom. She said, well, I think it was. I said, I don't give a shit what you think. I said to her, dude, I said, have you hit bottom, pal? He said, yes, Mick. I said, tell me about it. He said, it's easy. He said, I was locked up in a penitentiary, married to Bubba. I said, that wasn't your bottom. He said, it felt like it. They got bad minds. minds, Pete. I can tell. They're your bad minds. You know, hitting bottom's an inside job, and on January the 15th, 1983, full of hurt and hate, I'm glad I had what we call the gift of desperation. That was to spell G-O-D, the gift of desperation. And in desperation and despair, without knowing what I was saying, without knowing who I was saying it to, and without knowing what the consequences of what I was saying was going to be, I can remember very clearly going, help me, please help me, what's wrong with me? And asked for help from outside of myself. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yes. And although this cunning, baffling and powerful disease had gotten me to abandon God and spirituality, God hadn't abandoned me. And when I turned back to him and asked for help, he seemed to be looking over my shoulder. And he seemed to say, Mick, you silly bastard, I've been waiting for you to ask. Now get yourself over that 12-step fellowship. Sent me to you. I asked for help and he sent me to you. Because here was the power he provided for an addict of my kind, your kind, our kind, to not have to use today. Here it was, right here, in rooms like this. Me plus you, you plus me, together we can do. Number one cause of relapse, people stop coming here. When I stop coming here, I revert back to self. In and of myself, I'm helpless, hopeless and powerless. When I'm here with you, being a small part of this great whole, doing the simple, basic things that you told me, learning what to do and how to do it and how to apply it, I got so much bloody power over my addiction, I don't know what to do with it. That's why I say, hope everything comes out all right, though. You know, that's why I say, there ain't one person in this room powerless over their addiction. I know that sounds sacrilegious, but it's true. There ain't nobody in this room, there ain't nobody in any 12-step program powerless over what they believe in, what they're suffering from. Not if you're connected, not if you're in the presence, not if you're in the midst, and we ain't even talked about God. See, in the second step, there's like an automatic assumption that a power greater than self is God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, or any other now. And it don't say that. It don't even say higher power. It says a power greater than self. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Well, you guys explained insanity as repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. Using. So if using was insanity, to be restored to sanity meant not using. Now, I'm a simple man, but I'm also certified insane in 4 different countries. But they never once came and grabbed my arse and said, we're locking you up for repeating the same behaviour and expecting a different result. You know, they knew how to hurt me, they knew how to bash me up, they knew how to chain me to padded cells and brutalise me like I've been. But they didn't know what was wrong with me, and even if they knew, they didn't know how to get through to me. You guys did. We did. We did it. See? So that insanity that we talk about in the second step came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. All it was really saying was, look, here's a power, us, the group, here's a power, me plus you, the fellowship, we can do something and not have to use today. We have a program that will enable me to not have to use no matter what happens. And that's what we got here, folks. But some people get kind of strayed away from that. And they get told things like, you know, the steps are the solution to all your problems today. Well, I don't know where they're coming from. See, they ain't the solution to all my... You try working the steps on your finances and your relationships and your career and all that. That doesn't work. You know. But what the program does do is give me a way of living so that no matter what hits the fan, I ain't got to use over it. That's what we got. When the fan gets hit, I got a way of living where I haven't got to use over it. It don't stop the fan getting hit. At 10 years clean, I was in the fetal position on the floor eating the carpet in so much pain I couldn't stand it. But I didn't have to go through that alone, and I didn't have to have a use up over it either. See, it ain't my fan anymore. I ain't in charge of the fan. And that's what I got if I stay here with you. It didn't sort out my career and my finances and my relationships, you know. I see some of you vamping around here in that relationship game. You know the relationship game? We suffer from that, don't we? Romance and finance. Blimey. RELATIONSHIP. Really exciting love affair turns into outrageous nightmare. Serenity in peril, you know. Serenity hangs in peril. It makes me laugh when I think about that. But you know, what we do have is when that all explodes and when it all goes up in the air, we don't have to use over it. I was talking to a guy today, you should have heard what he said was his reasons for using. You know, it was outrageous, you know. But anyway, that's what we got. We got a program of recovery here, so that whatever happens, we ain't have to go to use over it. Now, what did it mean to be powerless over my addiction? I didn't know what that meant. Where I came from, my name's, you know, like Mickey Bush, as I made a Mickey B, if you want. You know, where I came from, I couldn't walk around saying I was powerless over nothing. If I'd have gone around saying I was powerless, they'd have changed me from Mickey to Michelle. Yeah, I mean, you didn't deal with that level where I came from, you know. So powerless over addiction, what did that mean? I didn't know what that meant. So I asked, I went round and asked it. And people kept telling me what the results of being powerless was. They kept telling me what they did because they were powerless. They kept telling me the consequences and the results of being powerless. Can't control my using, one's too many, I've got a twofold illness, you know, and all that stuff. That's not what powerless is. It's a consequence and results of being powerless. But powerless, I mean, think about it. Powerless. Less power. Powerless. It's not too difficult, is it? Power. Less. No power. Well, what do we know about the power? We know that there's one who has all power. That one is God. Well, you find him now. But if I've got to find him, it means I ain't got him. So if he's the source and he's the power over everything and I'm powerless, what it really means where my addiction is concerned, I have no God in my life when I get here. Whatever form of God you've got, or higher power, or whatever power greater than yourself, or whatever terminology you want to use for it, you ain't got it where your addiction's concerned when you get here, and you haven't become part of the fellowship yet. So I have no power. Now why do I need a power? Why did I need a power greater than myself? Because I haven't got one. That's why I need one. Not what I do with it if I get it, or not what I can, you know, possibly turn to. Why do I need a power greater than myself? Because I haven't got one. How come I haven't got one? Well, I had to learn this. I'm an addict with a disease of addiction. That disease of addiction is more powerful than my choice not to do it. And I can't not do it just because I don't want to do it. Because cunning, baffling and powerful. It makes me do what I already don't want to do. This disease makes me do what I already don't want to do. So I can't not do it just because I don't want to. I've got to not want to do it, but I can't rely on not wanting to do it. I can't just say no, or like I hear some people say, I choose not to use today. I think, well, screw you. If I could choose not to use today, I wouldn't need to come here. I could choose not to use today, I could choose to use at the weekend, I could choose to not use next week and choose to use the following week. If I could rely on choosing, don't worry, it's easy to choose not to use today. I did it 3 times in one day once. But I can't rely on it. You know, choose not to use, you know, piss on you. You know, so, you know, this disease makes me do what I already don't want to do. This disease makes me do what I already don't want to do, and I can't not do it just because I don't want to. I've got to not want to do it, but then I've got to do these steps and this work so that I don't do what I already don't want to do. And if I ain't doing these steps and this work, or I ain't done these steps and this work, I will do what I don't want to do, because the disease I got that I'm powerless over will make me do what I don't want to do. You think I knew that shit when I got here? I never knew that shit when I got here. How would I know? I hadn't met you guys to tell me, and I couldn't work it out for myself. I'm in the grips of an obsession. I can't, an obsession is a thought to the exclusion of all else, including recovery. You know, when I get sucked in by the obsession, it takes away my ability to say no. I've only got two choices, yes or no. The obsession takes away my ability to say no, so then I have to say yes. When I do say yes, I think I chose to or wanted to but didn't. It makes me do it even though I don't want to do it. It kicks in what we call the phenomenon of craving. A craving is a feeling beyond my mental control, so I can't stop from doing it, and once I'm doing it, I can't stop doing it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Shit. You know, I mean, specifically, and we're not drug specific, or at least I'm not, but cocaine did that. Anybody remember the last half? You remember the last half? You remember, like, I would say, screw that cocaine, I don't even like cocaine. I ain't even a cocaine dude. I ain't never touching that shit again. I'll just finish this last half. Who remembers the last half? Oh, yeah. 28 last halves later. So, I don't know. You know, I got to find out this stuff. I don't know what powerless is. How come I'm powerless? I've got a disease of addiction. Now, long before I get here, long before I get to recovery, the disease, long before I get here, is getting me to abandon God and Spirit. Now, I was raised in a religion. I know all about God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, or any other now. I worked with 2 nuns, 2 priests, a rabbi and a Sikh. Dedicated their lives to the service of God and mankind. Couldn't stay clean. C-L-E-A-N. Completely leaving every addiction now. They had God in the rest of their affairs. They were applying God. They had their religious base and everything else. Not where their addiction was concerned. Where their addiction was concerned, powerless. The disease had gotten them to abandon God and spirituality, so that along the path of life, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, the disease becomes the power in your life, dictating and dominating everything you say, do, think and feel. And in and of myself, I'm helpless, hopeless and powerless to resist its demands and have to do what it wants me to do, which is use. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And in and of myself, I can't like fight and resist it, because it's more powerful than my choice not to do it. See? Powerless, godless, whatever form of God you got. Now, in recovery, we're blessed to be able to say and pass on whatever form of God you've got. And you don't even have to call it God. If you don't want to call it God, call it whatever the hell you do want to call it. We don't care. Call it bloody Mashikanovich if you like. No one gives a shit. You know, whatever form of God you've got is okay with us, as long as it makes sense to you. As long as it makes sense. But don't go around flapping your bloody lips saying, well, I don't understand God. I don't got God. I don't know what you mean by it. Get it. 3rd step. Understood. Not understand. Understood. Because we define it in 1 and 2, so we've understood it in 3, so that I can then turn my will and my life over to the care of it. See? But find something that makes sense to you, that you understand. Don't flim-flam it. You haven't got to understand God. You've got to have an understanding of something that you can rely on. People say, oh, well, you can use the doorknob. Well, that'll turn on you. You like that one, don't you? You know, and I did. But when I got here, I didn't. When I got here, I didn't. When I got here, the God shit nearly run me out. Honestly, I'm not lying to you. I was really, really sick. And well-meaning people, at least I hope they were well-meaning, said, let go and let God. I said, what? They said, turn it over to God. I said, what? I said, pray to God. I said, pray to God? If I pray to him, he'll know where I am. And I wasn't going to pray to no God. Pray to my God. I was like, are you crazy? Why would I pray to something that was going to strike me blind for playing with the old ding-a-ling, for Christ's sake? Are you nuts? Did they tell you that? Don't you touch that, God will strike you blind. Well, you know you tell an addict not to do something and he will, so I did. And when I found out how good it felt, I thought, well, I'll risk one of them. You know? But I weren't having nothing to do with the Godship, so I was bolting for the door. I was out of here. I didn't want to have nothing to do with that. But I'm blessed and grateful that there were some Native American brothers in the room, and as I was running, they said, Mick, where are you going? Come and sit with us. We got a way of saying some of this stuff that may be more warm and fuzzy for you. I had nowhere else to go anyway, so I sat with them, and they talked about the Great Spirit, and they talked about the Great Spirit, Father Sky, Mother Earth, brothers and sisters, family, F-A-M-I-L-Y, Father and Mother, I love you. And if you're his kid, I'm his kid. If I'm his kid, you're his kid. And he loved everything he created equally, you know, from the Empire State Building to the smallest blade of grass. You know, I went, wow, this is really nice. This was much better than that. On your knees, sinner! You know, that I'd been, you know, brought up with, so, you know, that's why I say today, you know, when I got here, I was broke, busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. But that ain't true today. You know, I'm a very wealthy man financially and materially, but my greatest asset is that loving God you guys taught me about. That's my greatest asset. And I love that, and I'll no more think about being separated like I was when I got here, because that's the spiritual malady. We have a spiritual malady and people don't seem to grasp that the spiritual malady is as simple as being separated from the Spirit. That's all the spiritual malady really is. We're separated from the Spirit. How come we're separated from the Spirit? The disease has gotten me to abandon God and spirituality along the path of life, so that it became the power in my life. That's why hitting bottom is so imperative. Because H-I-T-B-O-T-T-O-M, hurting inside, totally burnt out, turn to our Master. I didn't even know this disease had gotten me to turn away from the Master. But when I turned back and asked for help, ASK, our saving kit, help, H-E-L-P, his ever-loving presence, now I've got a God back in my life. He sent me to you. I've got a fellowship, Narcotics Anonymous. You guys introduced me to a basic text. In the basic text is a program. In the program is the steps. You guys suggested I get a sponsor with a design for it. I went, wow, I've got so much bloody power, I don't know what to do with it. I said to my sponsor, what should I do with all this power I've got over my addiction? He said, give it away. Go down there to Notting Hill, give it to them. Don't worry, they won't want it. You know, and I didn't know that I was learning basic, simple things right here, things that I didn't know about. You know, like washing cups and being of service. I didn't know. A rough, gruff old guy said, come on, Mick, come and we wash the cups. I said, I don't want to wash the cups. He said, go and get loaded. I don't want to get loaded. He said, well, come and wash the cups. I go to this meeting, there's 200 hairy-ass cups, big chunky mugs, horrible rotten bastard mugs. Had butts in them and ash and everything else in them, and you know, I'm washing these bloody cups and up to my elbows in water, washing cups, hour after everybody's gone home from the meeting, big meeting. Felt like a right dick. Next day he said, don't forget Mick, if they let us we'll go back and wash the cups next week. I said, we washed the cups last night. He said, yeah, well they need washing again. I said, I don't even wash my own cups. He said, well go and get loaded. I don't want to get loaded. He said, well come and wash the cups. Go and wash the bloody cups, 200 rotten ass cups. Went on for 4 months. 4 months I'm standing at the sink, up to my elbows in water, hour after everybody's gone home, washing bloody cups. One day at the end of the sink, a guy come and stood there. I said, what do you want? He said, sponsor said I've got to wash the cups. I said, what cups? He said, I guess them cups. I said, piss off and get your own cups. These are my cups. You ain't having my cups. That's how we do simple things here, and we learn simple things. For us, very intelligent, highly, you know, superior people got to learn basic, simple things easily so that we can recover from a seemingly open state of mind and body. And I learned that here. And I learned that powerlessness was the absence of power, not what I did because I was powerless. See, and people talked about it like that, and I related that to like being broke. You know, if you're broke, you can't pay your rent, you can't put gas in the car, you can't take a chick on a date. But not going on a date, putting gas in the car and paying your rent is not what being broke means. Being broke is no money. Why do I need some money? Because I haven't got any. Why do I need some power? Because I haven't got any. And I never knew that. I never had a clue how to even think that way. Third step. A lot of people get confused with the third step. See, it's quite easy. We make a decision. We're capable of making a decision, aren't we? Well, I mean, you decided to come here. I decided to come here. You know, we decided to do this wonderful event like this is. You know, we do that in recovery, don't we? We make decisions to do things. So I make a decision, turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I've understood God. What is my will and my life? I didn't realise what my will and my life was. I ask people and they tell me all kinds of weird shit. What is my will and my life? Well, it was very easy. I learned it here. My will was my thinking, my life was my actions. My will was my thinking, my life was my actions. So I'm going to make a decision to turn my thinking and my actions over to the care of God as I've understood God. Now, I've got an understanding of this power greater than myself right here, and I'm going to call it God because it's a group of drug addicts, G-O-D, that's what a group of drug addicts was. And that's what I called God. So I'm going to turn my thinking and my actions, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to say, help me, teach me, can I be a part of this thing and do these simple things that you know about that I don't know about, and I'm going to do it by contributing, learning how to become a giver instead of a leech, sucking and leeching and hurting people. So I'm going to turn my thinking and my actions over to the care of the group as I understand it, you know, and my thinking. Well, so that I could live in the now, N-O-W, no other way, I couldn't live in the now if I was carrying guilt, shame and remorse from yesterday. Anybody know about guilt, shame and remorse from yesterday? Who remembers guilt, shame and remorse from yesterday? Yeah, no, and the rest of you lying bastards. I couldn't live in the now if I'm dragging around guilt, shame and remorse from yesterday. And I couldn't live in the now if I had fear, worry and anxiety about tomorrow. Fear, worry and anxiety. We have nothing to fear. I wrote all those words for fear. Some of you are familiar with them. You know the ones I'm talking about. But my latest word for fear, I'll share it with you. F-E-A-R. Forgetting everything's all right. You like that? You can say so if you do. Yes. Forgetting everything's all right. And when we forget everything's going to be all right, if we just don't pick up, we get fearful. And we take back the faith and trust in the third step. Trust, T-R-U-S-T. Try relying upon step 3. If you ask 100 people, maybe if there's 100 people in this room, if they believe in God, we'd probably have a very high percentage of yeses. Ask that same 100 people, do they trust and rely upon God? And you get a very different percentage. See, that's what we're going to learn. F-A-I-T-H, fear and insecurity, trust Him. So I'm going to make a decision, turn my will, my thinking and my actions over to the care of that God that I've understood. And it becomes really precious. You know, and that's the first 3 steps really. And all the first 3 steps really say is, I can't, He can, so let Him. You know, let go, L-E-T-G-O. Leave everything to God, okay? And that's what I did, because when I got here, my life was in ruins. When I got here, my life was in ruins. Today, my life's in perfect running order. And the only difference between run and ruin is I. You take the word ruin and remove I, it turns to run. You take the word run and put a big fat I in there, it turns to ruin. That tells me I've got to get the hell out of the way and let the old man run the show. Now I'm in safe hands. You see, and I don't know how to think that way until I come here and become a small part of this great whole. And I've got a little bit of news for you, because, you know, we talk about all the concepts of God that people may have, And I'm not just talking about religion or denominations along those lines. Of course, that's very, very acceptable to everybody. But I'm talking about the various mindsets that some of us have. You know, whatever concept you've got of God, or a power greater than yourself if you prefer that, or HP, higher power, whatever you prefer, we have no trouble with anybody's explanation along these lines. You know, whatever you've got, and get something that you can rely on at 2 o'clock in the morning when the demons are screaming and your ass is in a sling and your guts are being torn out by the phenomenon of craving and the madness of it, and you've got to use so bad you can feel it. You better have something more going for you than the fact that you don't want to do it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and that something better make sense. It better have depth and weight. It better not be some yin and yang, astroplaning, Zen of the zoo type thing that vaporises as soon as it hits the fan. You know, and that something better make sense. You should get something because it's very special. But you know, all the concepts of God. Say like in this room, Frankie tells me there's 110 or so people here tonight. You know, there may be over 100 different concepts of God right here, right now, in this very room. But guess what? They've all got at least one thing in common. All the gods in this room have got at least one thing in common. Know what that is? All the gods sent their addicts here. That's good shit, isn't it? Because here's the power they provided for an addict to not have to use today. And that's what we got. Holy shit, I like that. I say shit a lot. I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm good at it. Shit, S-H-I-T. Simply how I think. I wrote another one for those who've got resentments against me. Crap. C-R-A-P. Carrying resentments against people. You know, crap. You know, if you're wondering whether you is or whether you isn't a real addict or not, I'll give you a little clue. I've heard some laughter in here tonight, the language of the heart. H-E-A-R-T, healing, enjoying and recovering together. That's what we do together, don't we? The language of the heart, the laughter we share together. When one addict comes together with another addict to do together what they couldn't do apart. Because that's what related. I've done enough solitary time with bread and water where they only allow you to read the Bible, B-I-B-L-E, being informed before leaving earth. You know, and it's said in the Bible, when any two are gathered in my name, there I will be in your midst. I thought, wow, that's what we're doing at God's Anonymous. Two addicts come together for the purpose of recovery. God comes in our midst and produces a power greater than either of us. So it's produced by us, but it's greater than us, and we can absolutely depend upon it to not have to use today. Wow, that's good shit. I like that. And so I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying here with you. And that laughter, they say if you're laughing, you're relating. And if you're relating to a sick bastard like me, there ain't no doubt about you. I don't get through to well people. Well people don't laugh at my shit. My mum never laughed at my shit. You know, my mum, she wasn't an addict. You know, I used to come home, she passed now, but I used to come home every year and see my mum from Los Angeles. I'd come here, she lived out in Potter's Bar. And you know, I'd come home, first thing I'd do when I hit the shores, I'd go round to mum's house, I'd knock her up, I'd tell her, Mum, I'm 32 years clean. She says, so is the cat. You know, she don't give me no pat on the back for not doing something I shouldn't have done anyway. She says, I'm going to bingo, you know. You know, but we do, don't we? We come together to do this, what we're doing. And we thank people like Frankie, an exceptional guy. Love Frankie. You know, and I love you guys too. And I couldn't say that when I got here, folks. When you gave me hugs, the first guy, an English rock and roll singer, first me and I went to him, put his arms and I went, what are you doing? He said, giving you up. I went, get away from me, you goddamn pervert, get away from me. What we do today, don't we? We love giving hugs to them. I do too. Am I doing all right for time? What's it? 2 minutes, I've got 2 minutes. What am I going to say in 2 minutes to bring this thing together? Number one, I'd started a meeting in Venice, California. It's called Recovery After Relapse. going great guns. Relapse, R-E-L-A-P-S-E. Recovery exits, life and programs seem empty. You know. And we're belying the lie that I may have another using in me, but I haven't got another recovery. And we're proving that you can relapse and make it back. Now we want you to come back to be a sticker and a stayer. Straight today and yesterday. Stay. You know. But number one reason is that we stop coming here. We distance ourselves and we stop doing the deal, and then pretty soon the madness takes over, and pretty soon I'm sliding out, and pretty soon I'm having to use up and I don't. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Namaste. Thank you.